This is a very interesting scenario where we have a PBL group and two members of the group are coming late, understandably causing frustration, and it appears that the tutor's not doing anything. And I'll just say that first of all, I think I do have sort of responsibility to speak up here, but I want to look at exactly how I came to this conclusion by looking at the important people in this scenario. So that would be the group, then I'll talk about the tutor, and then the two students themselves. So if we look at the group as a whole, we've got to understand firstly that the group as university students, we have sort of a duty to study as well as we can and to achieve the marks that we're meant to achieve. And this means that we're going to have to and this means attending all PBL sessions, and so we have a responsibility to do that properly. And now I can understand the whole group is probably feeling very frustrated and probably attributing a lot of blame to these two students. But in my experience, when we sort of let our emotions rule sort of our interactions with others, things don't end well, especially in scenarios like this. For example, I'm reminded of my work in overseas service projects with the organisation Reladev, which is an AusAid agency, and we've worked with local communities in Vanuatu and Vietnam to construct facilities for schools, such as bathrooms and classrooms. And as you can imagine, the projects are quite hectic with large teams of Australian workers and foreign workers, and so it's quite hard managing a team like that. And whenever there's been arguments and when people resort to emotion, it never ends well, and the project just gets delayed. So in this scenario, I'd want to acknowledge emotion, but try and use understanding and reason to move forward and not rely on emotion. Now, when we look at the tutor in this scenario, they're obviously in a leadership position. Their role is meant to sort of coordinate that PBL session runs smoothly, and they also have that added responsibility of making sure that everyone sort of attends the class and sort of checking that box in terms of fulfilling their degree requirements. In this case, it seems like for whatever reason the tutor is not stepping in when it's clear that it is their role to step in, and in this case, there's sort of a failure or lack of leadership. In that case, it is the responsibility of I guess myself and other members of the group to sort of step up into that leadership role and assume responsibility, because at the end of the day, we want to have a good PBL session to facilitate and ensure that we get the best learning experience from the university. For example, I'm reminded of a time I worked as 3 years as a support worker for Riverlink Disability Services with kids with autism. And when we go on weekend camps, we've had situations where staff members might not wake up on time, and sometimes team leaders are afraid to correct them and speak up, because when they're not looking after their kid, then other staff have to cover for them, and that is not good for the care that we can provide. And so in those situations, I and some other team members have approached a team leader and said, maybe you should remind those other team members that are waking up late, because it's going to be detrimental for the whole team and the care that we provide. And so in this scenario, I would take the initiative to go and speak to these two students separately. So now to these two students. The main thing I want to see is where they're coming from. I've got to assume that they're not irrational, that there's a good reason why they're coming late to the PBL, and I want to find out why. Perhaps they live far away from the university and it's taking them many hours to travel. In that case, maybe we can talk about delaying the start time of the session, or perhaps they're having some troubles at home, maybe some personal problems, or maybe they have financial difficulties and they have to work a part-time job which is interfering with their university studies. And when that's the case, we can work out solutions to work around that problem. But the main thing is not to blame them outright, but just to understand them and approach them with a lot of sensitivity, ask a lot of questions, and then from there we can work out a good solution. I'm reminded of a time what I alluded to earlier of those service projects we were on, and there was a team that was working on the roof, which was quite hard because the sun was beating down and it wasn't an easy job, and they were working slowly because of that. But people started to blame them, and but when we understand where they're coming from and sort of how to manage that, then we implemented more frequent breaks and rotated people out. And in this scenario, that's what we've got to do. We've got to work out what the issues are, what's causing these people to come late, and then come up with solutions to help. solve it.